This is the story of something that happened to me, something I never thought I would share with anyone. But I feel like I have to tell it now. So listen carefully, because once I start, you'll understand why I never go near basements anymore. See, all started a few years ago when I moved into a small rental house just outside the city. It was cheap, a little too cheap, but I didn't have much money and I needed a place fast. The house was old, but quiet. The landlord seemed nice, though a bit odd. Before handing me the keys, he looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Don't go into the basement." He even smiled afterward like it was a joke, but I could tell he wasn't joking. His eyes didn't match the smile. At first, I didn't think much of it. Every house has its weird quirks. Maybe there were rats or something down there. For the first few weeks, everything was fine. The house creaked at night, but that's normal for old places, right? Then, small things started happening. I would hear faint knocks at night. At first, I thought it was the pipes or maybe the wind. But then the knocks started getting louder, more regular, always from the floor below. Always from the basement. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was just the house settling. But then one night, I was sitting in the living room reading when I heard it again. 3 loud knocks. Not random ones. These were spaced evenly, like someone was knocking on a door from inside the basement. I froze. I stared at the basement door, which was shut and had an old rusty padlock on it. My heart started racing. I waited. Nothing happened after that. But the next morning, when I went to check, the padlock was unlocked. I swear to you, I never touched it. I called the landlord. I asked him if he had come by. He said no. I asked him about the basement again, and he just said, "It's better if you don't ask questions. Just keep it locked." That made no sense, and the way he said it gave me chills. But I locked the door again, this time with a brand new padlock I bought myself. I even stacked a chair in front of the door. A few nights later, I woke up around 2 a.m. My room was freezing. I checked the window. It was closed. Then I heard it again. Knock. Knock, knock. Louder than before. This time, the sound came with something else. Breathing. Slow, heavy breathing. I got out of bed and tiptoed into the hallway. The breathing got louder as I approached the basement door. I swear it sounded like someone was standing right behind it, waiting. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. Then, I heard something I'll never forget. A voice. Low and raspy. Let me in. I ran back to my room and locked the door. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, watching the hallway, holding a kitchen knife like that would protect me. In the morning, everything looked normal. No sign of anything. The chair was still there, the lock untouched. But I knew what I had heard. That day, I went to the library and tried to look up anything about the house. I didn't find much, but I did find an old newspaper article from over 30 years ago. A man named Gerald Hunt had lived in that house. He had gone missing. No signs of forced entry. No evidence left behind. Just vanished. His wife claimed he had been acting strange for weeks before that, talking to himself, going into the basement late at night. Then one day, gone. I kept reading and found a small note added by the editor. Neighbors report strange noises coming from the basement even after the house was empty. I felt sick. I didn't go back to the house that night. I stayed in a cheap motel. But part of me knew I couldn't run forever. I had left all my things there, so the next morning, I returned. When I opened the door, everything seemed fine. 2 fine. Quiet. Still. I checked the basement door. The lock was gone. So was the chair. The door stood slightly open. I should have left. I know that. But something pulled me toward it. Curiosity, maybe. Or something worse. I opened the door slowly. A wave of cold air hit my face. The stairs creaked as I stepped down. It was pitch black, so I used my phone's flashlight. The basement was just one big empty space with stone walls and an old wooden floor. Nothing unusual at first. Then I saw it. A chair in the middle of the room, facing the wall, and a figure sitting in it. I couldn't see the face, just the back of the head. It looked like a man, but he wasn't moving. I called out, "Hello?" No answer. I took a step closer. That's when the door slammed shut behind me. I turned around, ran to the door, and pulled. It wouldn't budge. My phone's light started flickering. I turned back to the figure, and now he was standing, facing me. I couldn't see his eyes, just black pits where they should have been. His mouth opened slowly, way too wide, and he whispered, "You shouldn't have come down here," I screamed. I banged on the door, kicked it, shouted for help. The figure didn't move, but I could feel him getting closer. Not with footsteps, just suddenly nearer. The air was thick. My head was spinning. Then everything went black. When I woke up, I was on the floor of the hallway. The basement door was shut again, locked. No sign of anything being disturbed, but I had a long scratch across my arm, like from a long nail or a claw. I moved out that same day. I didn't even pack. I just left. The landlord never returned my calls. The house was listed for rent again 2 weeks later. Sometimes I still hear that voice in my dreams. Let me in. And sometimes I wake up and feel that same cold air, like the basement found a way to follow me. So if you ever move into a house with a locked basement, and someone tells you not to go down there, listen to them. Because not everything that's locked away stays that way. This is the story of my cousin Ethan. What happened to him still gives me chills, and no one in my family talks about it anymore. Not because we forgot, but because we can't explain it. It all started the summer he turned 16. His family had just moved into a new house in the countryside. A big, creaky old thing with ivy on the walls, and of course, a basement. You'd think basements wouldn't matter much, but in this house, it was the heart of something dark. Now, Ethan was curious. Too curious for his own good. The day they moved in, while everyone else was unpacking, he found the basement door in the kitchen. It was old, wooden, and had 3 rusty locks, but none of them were locked. Just hanging there. He opened the door, took 1 step down, and something made him stop. He told me later it felt like the air itself pushed him back. Not wind, pressure, like the house was warning him. He backed away, shut the door, and didn't mention it to anyone. Not even his parents. That first week, everything seemed okay. The usual new house stuff, squeaky floors, strange smells. But then he started hearing music at night, not from the radio or a phone. It was low, scratchy, like an old record player, spinning a slow, sad tune, always coming from the basement. He asked his parents if they heard it. They said no. He tried recording it on his phone. Nothing came up, just silence. Then came the smell, something rotten, like wet soil mixed with dead flowers. It filled the kitchen every night at the same time. 2:13 a.m. Not earlier, not later. And then, one night, the smell came with footsteps. Not his family's, but something walking up the basement stairs. He waited behind the door, holding a kitchen knife, hand shaking, heart racing. The footsteps reached the top step and stopped. He could feel the presence. Not see it, just feel it. Cold, heavy, watching him through the door. Then, softly, came a knock. Not aggressive, not rushed, just calm. He didn't open it. He didn't sleep. Next day, he told his parents. They said he was stressed, that maybe the move was messing with his head. But he knew what he heard. So Ethan decided to find out what was going on. The next night, he set up his phone at the top of the stairs, recording the door, with a flashlight facing down into the darkness. He went to bed. Couldn't sleep, of course, just waited. In the morning, he checked the video. It started off normal. Nothing for hours. Then, at exactly 2:13 a.m., the light flickered and something moved. From deep inside the basement, a tall shape slowly climbed the stairs. It didn't look human. Its arms were too long, legs too thin, and the way it moved, like it was half floating. Its face was just a blur, like the camera couldn't focus on it. But the worst part? When it reached the door, it looked at the camera, as if it knew Ethan would be watching. Then, snap, the screen went black. He showed it to me. I saw it with my own eyes. I still wish I hadn't, but here's where it got worse. The next night, the basement door was open, and the locks gone, like they were never there. Ethan didn't remember opening it. His parents swore they didn't touch it. They even started blaming each other. Arguments broke out. Tension filled the house. And then Ethan changed. He started waking up with scratches on his back. He'd stare off into space for minutes at a time like he was listening to something we couldn't hear. He kept whispering to himself, "It wants out. It wants out." One night he disappeared. His room was empty, bed still made. His phone was left on the desk, screen cracked, camera smashed, and the basement door was wide open. We searched the entire house. Police came. No sign of him. It was like he walked into that basement and vanished into the earth. They closed the case after a month. Said he ran away. But we knew better. 3 months later, his mom was cleaning the basement. Finally got the courage to go down. She screamed. On the wall, in dark red letters, were the words, "Still here." They moved out the orb. Next day, Ethan was never found. But sometimes, I still get texts from his old number. No words, just static. And at 2:13 a.m., every year on the night he disappeared, I hear that same scratchy music playing in my dreams. So, if you ever hear music from a place that's supposed to be silent, don't listen, don't go closer, don't open the door. Some basements don't keep things locked in, they keep us locked out. This is the story of a guy named Mark Turner. It happened about 5 years ago, and to this day, no one believes him. But I do, because I was there when he came running out of that place, shaking like a leaf, eyes wide like he had seen something. Not meant for humans. Mark was just your average 28-year-old. He worked from home as a freelance graphic designer. Quiet guy, lived alone, didn't cause trouble. He had just moved into a small rented house on the edge of a town called Black Ridge. A peaceful little place, mostly old folks and quiet streets. the kind of town where nothing exciting ever happened. But the house had one strange thing: a locked basement door with no key. When he moved in, the landlord told him, "That door stays locked. Don't worry about it. Just some old pipes and junk down there. Nothing important." Mark didn't think much of it. For the first few weeks, everything was fine. But then one night, while he was working late, he heard it. A knock. Not from the front door, not from the windows, from the basement. 3 knocks. He froze, heart pounding, listening again. Nothing. He laughed it off. Old pipes, he told himself. Old houses make noises. He went back to work. The next night, same thing. 3 slow knocks, always from the basement, always at exactly 1:44 a.m. He texted the landlord. The reply was quick. "Don't open that door, just trust me." Now that's the kind of message that makes your skin crawl. Mark tried to ignore it, but curiosity started eating at him. He examined the door. Old, thick wood. The lock looked rusted but strong. But the bottom, there was a thin gap between the floor and the door, just enough to see a sliver of darkness behind it. One night, he slid his phone under and took a quick photo using the flash. When he looked at the picture, his mouth went dry. There was a foot, not bare, not in shoes, just a single, pale, dirty foot standing in the shadows, as if someone was standing right behind the door. He didn't sleep that night. Next day, he bought a hammer and a crowbar. He told himself he wouldn't open the door, just be ready just in case. That night, he stayed up with every light on. 1:43 a.m. came. The air grew cold. Pitichu, knock, knock, knock. He grabbed the crowbar and shouted, "I know someone's in there." Silence. He placed his ear against the door, and he heard it. Breathing. Slow. Deep. Heavy. Then a voice whispered, right into his ear, like it was on the other side of the wood. "Let me in, Mark." He stumbled back and dropped the crowbar. His hands were shaking. No one else should have known his name. No one. He called the police. They came, searched the basement from the outside entrance behind the house. It was sealed shut with rusted metal. When they finally forced it open, the air that came out smelled like old death, mold, dirt, and something worse. They went in with flashlights. No one was there, just dust, cobwebs, and drawings on the walls, scratched in deep, dozens of stick figures, all with hollow eyes and mouths open in silent screams. One of the officers said, "Looks like someone lost their mind down here." But Mark wasn't done. He asked the town librarian if anyone else had lived there before. Turns out, back in 1983, the house belonged to a man named Victor Grayson, a quiet teacher who went missing one winter. The police never found him. Just a note on the kitchen table that said, "He won't stop knocking." That was enough for Mark. He packed a bag and stayed at my place the next few days. But even away from the house, weird things followed him. His phone would ring at 1:44 a.m. Just static. No caller ID. He started waking up with bruises on his arms like someone had grabbed him hard while he slept. His voice got quieter, like he was afraid to speak too loud, like someone was always listening. Then one night he said, "I think I left it open." I asked, "Left what open?" He stared at me and whispered, "The basement door." He went back the next morning, said he had to shut it, had to end whatever it was. I begged him not to go alone, but he just smiled, thin and tired. "If I don't, it'll come here. I can feel it." He went in. I waited in the car. Hours passed. No sound, no movement. So I called the police. When they broke in, the house was empty. No mark, no signs of struggle, just that basement door, still locked from the inside. They searched the whole place. Nothing, not a single clue, until one of the officers found something scratched into the inside of the basement door near the bottom. It said, "It's open now. We never saw Mark again." But every year on November 14th, at exactly 1:44 a.m., I get a voicemail on my phone. No voice, just knocking. 3 knocks. Then silence. So if you ever rent a house and the landlord says, "Don't open the basement," do yourself a favor, don't. Because some doors, once opened, never really close. I want you to listen carefully because what happened to my friend Daniel Matthews is something I'll never forget. It's a warning, one that, to this day, no one in our group dares to talk about. Daniel was always the adventurous one in our group, always looking for the next thrill, the next mystery to solve. So, when he came across a strange app on his phone, you can guess what happened. He downloaded it without even thinking twice. It was called The Truth Teller. You might have heard of it. It was one of those apps that seemed too strange to be real. Said it could answer any question you had, no matter how personal. At first, we all laughed it off. You know, just one of those fun apps that promise the world but don't deliver. But Daniel, he had to know more. It all started when he was at a party. He pulled me aside, phone in hand, with this wide-eyed grin. He said, "Watch this." He typed in, "Who is my true love?" The screen went black for a second and then words slowly appeared. "Her name is Emily. You met her in college. She's waiting for you to admit your feelings." We all laughed. "Well, that's creepy," I said. But Daniel wasn't laughing. He sat there staring at the screen like he had seen a ghost. It knew. "Okay, that's enough," I told him, trying to brush it off. "You know it's just a trick, right? Some algorithm." But Daniel wasn't convinced. He went on asking more questions about his future, his career, his family. Every answer was eerily accurate. Things about his childhood, stuff no one could have known. Even his deepest thoughts, the ones he hadn't even shared with anyone. That's when things started to take a darker turn. One night, after a couple of weeks of using the app, Daniel started getting weird messages. He wasn't telling anyone about it, but I noticed he'd go quiet, staring at his phone with a furrowed brow. I asked him what was going on, and he said, "It's just weird. It knows everything." One evening, he showed me the latest message. It read, "You should be careful. Someone close to you will betray you." We both laughed it off. "Probably just a coincidence," I said. But Daniel's face didn't show relief. Instead, he looked worried. He asked me, "What if it's right?" Then, the next day, things got stranger. Daniel's best friend, Ethan, called him up, sounding upset. He didn't even have time to explain much, just said he was at the old cabin they used to go to when they were younger and needed Daniel to come. Something had happened. We rushed to the cabin. When we got there, Ethan was pacing outside looking a mess. "What's going on?" Daniel asked. Ethan barely looked up. "I didn't want to tell you this, but I think someone's been inside. I found your stuff gone. Some of your notes were missing, and there was a weird mark on the door. It's like someone knew we'd be here. Daniel immediately pulled out his phone. He typed in, "Who took my stuff at the cabin?" The app took a moment, but then it flashed. "Ethan took it. You'll regret not trusting him." Daniel looked up from the phone, eyes wide, breath caught in his chest. "What did you do?" he demanded. Ethan took a step back, his face pale. "What are you talking about? I didn't take anything, I swear." But Daniel couldn't shake the feeling. The app had never been wrong before. Ethan swore he hadn't touched anything, but the damage had been done. Daniel didn't believe him. That night, the app gave him another message. "Ethan is lying. Don't trust him." The tension in the cabin grew thick. Daniel barely slept, his phone constantly buzzing with cryptic messages. And just when it seemed like it couldn't get worse, it did. At 3:14 a.m., Ethan was gone. Just disappeared. We searched the entire cabin, calling out his name, but there was no sign of him. Nothing. The police came, but they didn't find anything unusual. It was like Ethan had vanished into thin air. Daniel, torn between guilt and disbelief, couldn't stop staring at his phone. He opened the app one last time, desperate for answers. The screen flickered, and the message appeared. "It's too late. Ethan never left. He's still here, and he's waiting for you." We tried to leave the cabin, but as we drove away, we saw it, in the rearview mirror, standing by the side of the road in the darkness, Ethan. His face was twisted, eyes wide and unblinking. Daniel screamed, but when we turned around to look again, he was gone. We never went back to the cabin. And Daniel? Well, he deleted the app, but that didn't stop the messages. They kept coming, not from the truth teller anymore, but from a private number. Why didn't you trust me, Daniel? Don't forget what I warned you about. It was the last time I saw Daniel. He moved away, changed his number, and cut contact with everyone. The last time I heard from him was a voicemail about 6 months ago. His voice was shaky, barely recognizable. He just said, "I can hear him. He's always here. He's with me." After that, nothing. To this day, I get strange texts from a number I don't recognize. They always say the same thing. It's not over yet. So if you ever find an app that seems to know too much, don't download it. Don't ask it anything, because once you start, there's no going back. Some truths are better left untold.